Thank you for your honesty, because you don't normally get that from anybody ever, really. They just try to sell it to you, but he was just like, nah, man, don't waste your $5.
If you guys got a 30-second ad, I'll play it on my podcast.
Or if you want us to do advertising, I would love to do advertising for Videodrome.
Yeah, let us know. Chris Kelly, talk to him next time.
I'll probably be in there next week or this weekend to get another movie.
Skulking around.
That's my hangout. Well, it's across the street from Manuel's Tavern. I mean, go there, get a couple of beers. Like, I feel like watching a Kurosawa movie.
Exit to Eden.
Yeah. Like, try to convince your girlfriend to watch, like, we're gonna rent Bullet. Oh man, I tried to do that before. Like, trying to convince a friend of mine to watch. Like, they're like, "Oh, you think you know car chase movies? We're gonna watch the 7-Ups," and they're like, "What? You mean the police chief from Jaws was in another movie?" You're like, "Ugh."
Dude, I love that guy. Have you seen Sorcerer?
No, I've been telling you. Remember we had that conversation when it came out, because William Friedkin did an interview.
I have the signed poster. William Friedkin signed it. You're looking right over there.
That is some serious bragging rights.
That's awesome.
Do you know they're going to be showing that at the Plaza? I think it's like next month.
Classic movie. Go see it.
I want to see it. If I'm not working, I'm totally going to see it.
I'll podcast about it.
I would love to do that.
All right. Sounds good. My buddy David Thompson works at Alamo in Austin, Texas. And he knows I'm a big Sorcerer Friedkin fan. So he got that signed for me and sent it to me. That's awesome.
Man, that is pretty cool. Because I remember when that came out, the reissue of that, or the Blu-ray of it.
Yep.
And then he was on a podcast that I listened to, WTF with Mark Maron. And you were like, how have you never seen this movie?
It's one of Tarantino's favorites.
I don't doubt it.
It's going to change your life. You're going to be like, where have I been my whole life?
There's a lot of movies that are like that whenever I see them. It's like, how did I never hear about this?
There's not enough time.
But, I mean, I do watch a lot of movies. I watched, what was it, Sam Was Here the other day. If you haven't seen that, it's a good one, too.
What about Ricky was here, too?
Ricky went to the bathroom. What about that?
All right, so...
Oh, sorry. It is streaming, but Videodrome does have it for $5.
Yeah, if you're in Atlanta, and if you're in the area, definitely stop by there. So it's time for our next segment. I'll cue us in. Chris Kelly, recommendations. Chris Kelly, recommendations.
Thank you, Mark.
What movies you got for us?
Well, my recommendations, I wanted to go, as you know, I like to recommend some movies that if you do like this movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer, or any movie that we do review, I do like to say a couple of films that go along the same lines that kind of match it well. It's kind of like when you're having a meal, you want to have a wine or a beer that complements your meal.
Yeah, like cottage cheese and bacon.
Or blue cheese and tequila.
Pickles.
Have you had that beer that's sour beer? It's like cucumber sour beer.
Yeah, I've tried it. It's not bad.
Yeah.
There's a Creature Comforts does that. Yeah, they did a really good one.
They make some really good beer.
Yeah,
I was glad to see that in Endgame when
Troppin. Yeah, that's like life changing.
Giving the thumbs up in the crowd.
Yeah.
So I wanted to because I feel that So I Married an Axe Murderer is kind of like a forgotten 90s comedy classic. I wanted to recommend another one, which I've seen a few times, but I watched it again recently and was like, oh, wow, this movie, I forgot about how hilarious it is. The 1995 film Living in Oblivion.
I've never even heard of that movie.
You never heard of that?
No.
Oh, wow. Man, you'll love this. It's right now it's streaming on Shout and Tubi.
Okay.
So you can definitely stream it if you want to, or you can go to Videodrome and get it, because I saw it there whenever I was looking for So I Married an Axe Murderer, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen this movie in 20 years.
Living in Oblivion.
Living in Oblivion, which is about, it's written and directed by Tom DiCilio. I don't know how to say his name, but he wrote Johnny Suede, which you've seen that.
That's a weird one.
That is a great movie. But this one is about Steve Buscemi, who is kind of the director of an independent film. Catherine Keener plays the actress, quote unquote, and Dermot Mulroney plays the cinematographer.
You mean Dylan McDermott?
Sorry. Remember that time when they all came out and you're like, how many Dermots are in this damn town? But he plays the cinematographer. They're all playing. They're all trying to make this independent film. And the first 20 minutes of it, I don't want to ruin it, so I'm not. But it's really hilarious, especially if you've ever made an independent film or have worked in the business. All of these jokes are very spot on. It's very accurate to working. It's very funny and accurate to working on a film set.
I'm going to put this on.
Oh, I'd strongly recommend it. You'll laugh until you cry. I just could not stop. And the end scene alone is just like, it's so bittersweet hilarious. Like watching it, I was like, yes, that has happened, because I've made I've made independent films of my own, and it's like, oh my God, that's so accurate. That's so funny. But the one character that I thought was extremely accurate was Danielle von Zernick, who plays the first AD, and I was like, yes, that's exactly how it would be.
Oh, I'm excited to watch this.
Oh man, you'll love it.
I normally don't like watching film being made in movies, because they do it whenever
they usually make it kind of slapstickish, and they make it kind of like it's a goofy thing, but it's like, nah, there's a few movies and shows that do accurately depict it. I think that Living in Oblivion is definitely a more humorous approach to it.
And Bowfinger, I love that.
But yeah, it's been forever since I've seen that. But the show Unreal, if you haven't seen that, or if you've ever worked in reality TV, that is spot on.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. I would say it's about 98% accurate. There's only a few small things that happened in Unreal where you're like, I was like, no, that wouldn't happen. But I'd say about 98% of that. And I had the character of the producer, Quinn, I was like, that I worked with
Maniac.
Oh God. Yeah. I was like, I've worked, it's Unreal.
Yeah.
Another movie, which just to say again, that Living in Oblivion is streaming right now on Shout and Tubi.
Sounds good.
Another movie is a 2007 film called Murder Party that's streaming on Netflix, Shudder, and Tubi. The writer and director is Jeremy Soliner.
Oh, Jeremy Saulnier?
Yes, is that okay?
Yeah, he did Green Room.
Yeah, did Green Room and
Blue Ruin.
This is his movie that he made before all that. So
what?
Before he did those two movies, he made a comedy, which is really... I saw this movie by accident, because when I first got my Shudder app, I was just streaming whatever, because if you don't have the Shudder app and you really like horror films, I strongly recommend just breaking down and getting the Shudder app, because they put movies on there that you haven't heard of ever, and there's movies that are on there right now that have never been released. There's a movie that I just saw called Effects, that had never had a release up until like last year, and it was made in 1980. It was starring the guy who plays the military personnel from Day of the Dead.
Oh, okay, got it.
He plays a special effects character from 1979. It's a dynamite movie. But Murder Party is a horror comedy about it's kind of like this loner dude. He's walking home from work and he finds an invitation on the ground saying, like, anybody's invited to this murder party, and he's like, oh, it's Halloween, ha ha ha, it's kind of cheeky. So he dresses up in whatever he can, goes to the party, and it's actually an art exhibit where they were waiting for anyone to pick up this invitation, and they were going to murder them for the sake of art. So it's very funny and horrific at the same time. Very much on the same lines of So I Married an Axe Murderer. The idea of somebody who's going around marrying and killing. There's a group of people who are, for the sake of just art, wanting to murder someone.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it's very funny.
I'll put that on. Who stars in it?
I forget the name of the guy, but none of them had ever did anything since then. I think the last thing that the main character did was like in 2006 or something. None of them really continued.
Oh, okay. So it's a bunch of... okay, got it.
It's basically like a student film, but it's really good. It's very well done.
I'm excited.
Murder Party that's on Netflix, Shudder, and Tubi.
Oh, I'm looking this up. This looks fun. What's the next one?
It is a good one. This one I know you've seen.
It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Sounds like Mark's going to have a great afternoon. All right. Back to the gas station screaming in this. I know you've seen this movie, but I felt this was around the same lines of So I Married an Axe Murderer. It was called You Might Be the Killer.
Who did that?
Oh, well, didn't get the director. Okay. I apologize for that, but You Might Be the Killer. It was streaming on Sci-Fi Channel and Netflix, but I guess they took it down because they go through their different schedules. But it's not streaming currently anywhere. It's starring Fran Kranz, which you may remember from Cabin in the Woods as a stoner. He plays a camp counselor who's prone to blackouts. It starts out with him waking up and everybody's dead, and he's like, "Oh my God, there's a killer on the loose. what's going on? And he's trying to remember what happened. He's like, oh no, did I kill everybody? No, that doesn't make any sense. So then he calls his friend Chuck, who's played by Allison Harrigan, who we all know from Buffy and the American Pie films. And she's like, okay, what happened? She works in I think it's like a video store. It's kind of like a Wonder Book and video where they have music, movies, all kinds of books. And she's trying to talk him down, being like, okay, maybe you did kill people, maybe you didn't, but let's try to figure out what's going on here. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a little bit of yes and a little bit of no.
Got it.
So it's a great cheeky comedy, also involving a lot of horrific moments.
I am down for that.
It's a good one. I know you've seen it, though, because we talked about it. You Might Be the Killer?
I've never talked to you about it.
And who was I talking to about that movie?
Another tall guy. Another tall
well,
blonde.
it was at that tall guy convention we went to.
Tall blonde guy convention.
Anyone over 6'2" was at there.
It was boring. When tall people are together...
I couldn't even see the main speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's tall. I'm not special here. I'm going to go to a place where I feel like, I'm short.
Dikembe Mutombo was the leader.
I am not going to that. People who are 5'11" tried sneaking in. We know.
Like, yeah, I see your platform.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah.
You had to take your shoes off and step in.
Who are you bullshitting? Those are mechanic shoes. I know Bonanza boots when I see them.
Stilts.
It's just two kids in a trench coat.
That's what movie is that?
That was in like every cartoon ever.
Yeah.
You see the adult trying to get us just two kids in a trench coat.
How'd that work?
So then the last movie I wanted to reference was a movie that had nothing to do with killing at all, but a great romantic comedy from the early 90s, which I feel like it would have... And this goes along the same lines as So I Married an Axe Murderer. A little bit of funny, a little bit of fun. Everything's kind of romantic and nice.
It's a little flirty.
It's a little
filthy. It's a little funny.
A lot of dirty. lot of dirty.
A lot of flinging.
A lot of flinging. A lot of slapping.
A little farting. What is this movie? You've got mail.
But yeah, the 1994 Nicolas Cage film, It Could Happen to You.
Hey, Bridget Fonda.
Yeah.
And another guy.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage, Rosie Perez.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the older guy. But those are the main characters, Nicolas Cage, Bridget Fonda, and Rosie Perez. Which, if you've seen it, then it's a very cute movie about a
very honest guy.
Very honest man who doesn't have any money to pay for his lunch.
Cop.
He's a cop, and they go to him and his partner go to order a lunch, and they can't afford. They can't afford it, but they get a call, and then he goes to open it. And he's like, "We'll just take the tab." And she's like, "What you have is 2 coffees. It's $2." And he's like, "Ah, damn it! I don't have any cash in my wallet." So he's like, "I do have a lottery ticket, so if I win, I'll split this with you as a tip." And she's like, "Ha ha ha." Turns out he does win. And he then, after arguing with his wife, does give her half the money. And it turns out well for her as well. Bridget Fonda's character, she winds up buying the diner and turning it into a nice little cafe. Nicolas Cage.
Shoe store.
Turns out they sell whale blubber.
Hey, get your whale blubber.
But it's a really cute movie. Yeah. So and then Rosie Perez is even though she's kind of like a gold digger, but at this even though she does get the money, she wants more. So she kind of gets involved with another man who's also more about money on this millionaire's boat ride thing. But the movie, the cuteness of it takes place with the Bridget Fonda and the Nicolas Cage characters actually being both very good people. And there's a great scene where they're like she's like, well, let's try to outdo one another on this date, and she takes him rollerblading. He can't really rollerblade. Hilarity ensues.
Well, I want to see Nick Cage on rollerblades.
Yeah, he goes right into the lake.
Oh,
I can't stop. Goes right into the lake.
The bees.
Oh God, not the bees. But
you sounded like a 90s grunge band singer.
Oh no, not the breeze! Oh no, not the breeze!
Can't find a better man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
I was in a 90s cover band that covered that song. Horribly.
Better Man?
Yeah. And one time...
How can you horribly cover that
One
song?
Time our guitarist...
That's like messing up Jeremy.
One time our guitarist actually hit the guitar solo in that, and everyone cheered because he had never hit a guitar solo in his life, but he perfectly nailed this one. And the entire crowd just went nuts that he hit.
Joke's on them. We actually covered a lot of Minor Threat songs with no.
Yeah.
So they're just happy that we did something else.
Yeah. Bunch of Pavarotti covers. All right, sorry.
Sorry, but there's a really cute moment.
Shoe store.
Yeah. There's a really cute moment where they're on rollerblades, and then she says to him, "Okay, you can pick the next date." And then they go to the subway station, and Nicolas Cage is handing out quarters, saying, "Okay, well, everybody's train ride home is now on us."
Hey.
So then they do that, and then he takes the neighborhood kids to the Yankee Stadium, and they play a game of baseball.